A very good morning to you, Brian, and thank you for coming in. A lot of anger directed at you on the back of this decision that you've made. Were you expecting that?
You see, let me first start by greeting you and the viewers. You know, making a decision such as this one is mostly difficult because you've got to balance. Because you've got to balance the interest of Eskom as a producer and make sure that Eskom is sustainable. But on the other hand, you've got to make sure that businesses are also sustainable because they buy from Eskom. And you've also got to make sure that consumers can afford electricity. So you have to play a game of balancing. And once you play that game, you have to get to somewhere where it is suitable for nearly everyone, but not everyone.
And let's talk about the balance, because it's quite a process to arrive at a decision for NERSA. We had the public hearings process that started late last year, I believe. What happens from there where you take all these submissions from the hearings, people write in, and then how do you finally arrive at the determination?
Okay, let me start from the beginning. We received the final application in October last year, and then we published it for stakeholder comments, and we received some written comments from stakeholders, about 119,000 written comments. And then from there, we also held public hearings. We held 7 public hearings because 2 were cancelled due to non-attendance. And then after that, remember, we don't just listen to people, we also do our own analysis. We then did the analysis taking into account people's views and taking into account what Eskom is also saying, but doing our own modeling. And then that's where you get to the number, and then you say, this is the most suitable number. Not the suitable number, but the most suitable number.
Let's talk about the most suitable number, because in Eskom's view, the most suitable number would have been a 15% increase every year for 3 years. Where did they fail in convincing NERSA that that was the best thing to do, especially at a time when Eskom is facing so many financial problems?
You know, as a regulator, you've got to look at, obviously, Eskom will present their case and make their motivation, present their numbers in terms of how much they're going to spend on coal, how much they're going to spend on salaries, how much they're going to spend on the build program and all of that. But now, as the National Energy Regulator, you'll then look at their presentations and take a view on whether these numbers are efficient, because the Act says that you must ensure that an efficient supplier gets all cost of supply plus a reasonable return. Now you've got to determine whether those costs are efficient. And in our view, some of the costs were not efficient and prudent, and thus we had a difference with Eskom.
What recourse then does Eskom have if they were to want to challenge perhaps the outcome that you've arrived at?
The recourse that is there, not only for Eskom, is that anyone that is not happy with the regulator decision can take it on review at the High Court.
Privatization, controversial when you talk about South Africa and energy. Would the privatization of Eskom or the arrival of a private competitor in any way change our energy pricing situation for the better? Is that the answer?
See, I'm going to be very careful in answering that one, because that's a policy issue. Mm-hmm. But what we know is that there are pros and cons of privatization and having an asset like Eskom being held by the state. Privatization, according to others, they will say that it will take away jobs because it is more profit-driven than based on policies of the country. But also, the others would then tell you that privatization brings in more efficient running of a company, and therefore it will make sure that wastage will go away. Therefore, I mean, that is a call of government. But for us, we believe that any structure needs to make sure that, as a regulator, we must just make sure that it is efficiently run.
Brian from the National Energy Regulator, thank you for your time this morning.